No, that was a good one.
It really, really is unpleasant, isn't it?
Yeah, because when I joined you guys, you was already stopped using recording Craig.
Well, initially we were using the Craig bot, and up to, I want to say, what was the ADS, APS episode?
Uh,
About episode
been a while.
10? About 10 or 11, maybe? Something like that. So we were using Craigbot, but then we had, I think for the third time in a row, there was something going wrong. I think it might have been a permission thing or something like that, where we got to, say, 40 minutes in of an hour and a half to 2 hour episode, and it just stopped recording. But it didn't actually announce it. Like, it put a message in, saying stopped recording after 42 minutes, but there was no notification. It didn't tell us that. And that happened for, I think, the third episode in a row. And at that point, we just went, oh, no, fuck this. Nah, but, we're having to find another day to record that episode. Then it's, okay, we got up to this point. We got up to this joke. Go from there. But at the same time, you can tell. Once you know, then you can tell in the episode it's been re-recorded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And trying to re-record an episode with the same joke, you don't get the same sort of effect with it.
Yeah, it feels more forced after the first time.
It really does, and it doesn't. And it's also frustrating because you lose a day of recording, and you have to go in, and then I have to go in and splice things together, try and make it make sense, and I mean, all of that. So that's when I started looking for, say, Zencastr, which works fairly well. Considering we don't use, cameras or anything on us. But I think now, Zencastr is not really worth the cost anymore.
Well, yeah.
It was an extra $20, I think, a fortnight or something like that. It was still costing us money, and we have constant issues with. For some reason, everyone's voice goes lower, so then I have to try and ramp it up, but then they start sounding distorted. We've had a few issues with it not recording anymore. At that point, it's just okay, it's not worth the money we're paying it. So, right. Especially with Garrison, for some reason, he's always really quiet on Zencastr. So that's why it's okay, let's try Craig again, see if if we get enough successful recordings out of it, then we might just switch back to it, because it's Zencastr is just becoming a little bit problematic, we'll say.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be good for, say, guests, because we can send a guest a link to Zencastr, and they don't have to create, say, a Discord account if they don't want to. So we'll probably possibly hold it in reserve for that, or we'll just I'll pay for a month subscription when we have a guest on or something like that. But otherwise, just the Discord side of things in Craig is just being a lot easier right now.
Yeah, I got the chat window open at the side too to kind of keep an eye, see if it says stop anywhere.
Oh, you better believe me, I am so fucking paranoid about that kind of stuff nowadays. I'm just if we're hosting, say, a normal episode of Micro Machines, I have both screens going, with one is whatever we're recording, so I can keep an eye on EQ levels, see what people's voices are registering as. But also, I've had those issues, like, say, the David Mulder episode, right? Where we recorded that entire interview with him, and it was a really good interview, and then my fucking voice didn't pick up, and somehow it had an internet backup, remember?
Yeah, that was just a fluke, I guess.
I was legit panicking on that one, because I'm like, fuck,
I
don't want to have just wasted this guy's time, like an hour and a half of his time, and then trying to get him back on again to re-record something, and it won't be the same again. And oh my god, you should have heard me. I muted myself from you guys because I was my neighbors must have been hearing things.
Yeah, that was why you were so silent.
yeah. I was just like, fuck, if you guys could hear me, oh boy, there was. I was having to switch languages just for swear words.
Yeah, what's
Uh,
some good Maui swear words?
some good what?
Was it Maui?
Maori.
Maui.
I don't know. They don't really have much in the way of curse words. They just switch over to English for that one. But
Ah,
yeah, there's enough there. But I think I'll start going to French, German. Yeah, just seeing how many I could get through. But yeah, I was just lucky that suddenly it's like, like this one button that said download internet backup, and that was like my last chance. Otherwise, it'd be just that would have been a scrapped episode.
right. So I mean, obviously it recorded it and saved it because it made a backup of it, but it's like, so why didn't it just give it to you originally?
Well, it was saying there was an issue with the main recording system, but Zencaster has this backup that is lower quality, but it's something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know how it works, but it had this backup, and that's what saved the entire episode and my sanity, to be honest. Because that's the thing. Whenever you have a guest on a podcast, it's always like, you don't want to waste their time. You want to make sure everything's right. So you got a little bit of stress on. You want to make sure that they're engaged, everything's flowing well. So it's like, I enjoy having guests on. At the same time, it can be very stressful depending on like who their guest is sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy for me and Garrison because we just sit back and let you handle that. Listen,
I complain a lot.
Don, he could be considered a guest.
Pardon?
What? Oh, I said Don. He's not on here very much, so he could be considered a guest.
But he's one of us. Let's face it.
He is.
At this point, Dennis is the same. But
yeah, true.
Don't know what his excuses are.
Yeah, he's playing with the racing sim somewhere.
Yeah.
The very, very expensive racing sim.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, we should be. I should have Don booked in for next week for the next episode that I'm working on at the moment. So, because
I think I got a hint of that.
You got what?
I think I got a hint of that when I looked in the drive.
Oh yeah. You reckon?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you know what the episode is, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be good. Specifically, I'm trying to choose subjects that Don likes, so I can like entice him. A bit like a raccoon with food. You just got to just a little bit at a time.
Exactly. But right. I went ahead and I put the thumbnail for the episode in the drive.
Oh, did you? Hang on. Give me one moment. It's always good to have an idea of what we are about to talk about, just so I know what they look like. Let's have a look to next screen, and what in the feckin' fuck is that?
That is the Athens Double Barreled Cannon.
Well, I think before we get talking into, it's not even level. The barrels are they're not the same.
They're meant to be that way. And they're also meant to be slightly canted from each other as well.
That's... Oh, my OCD. Anyway, before we jump into that, welcome to episode 2 of Duds of War, where we find and talk about the worst of the worst when it comes to military history and weapons. Stuff like the show shot, the pigeon-guided missile system, which, I really can't wait to do that one, because that one is...
me too.
Oh, that one is... It kind of worked, but in a really dumb way, but it's really fun to talk about. So we're talking stuff like that. You have like the Pandandrum. You have the... there's so much we can talk about, and I have a big list. But first off, we are going to be talking about... What was the name of it again?
The Athens Double Barreled Cannon, or also known as the Confederate chain shot.
All right. Shall we hook straight into it? This is your episode, so I'm going to leave it up to Clint.
Alrighty. The concept dates back from 1642, and a Florentian gunmaker named Antonio Pertini, He cast the first cannon with the intention of simultaneously firing 2 balls linked by a chain from side-by-side barrels, which were meant to scythe down enemy soldiers like standing wheat in a field when it reached them. For the cannon to work, the powder behind each round shot had to ignite at the same instance, which rarely happened. So we'll fast forward to a spring morning in 1862. A number of men gathered in a field near Newton's Bridge on the north side of Athens, Georgia, to witness a demonstration of a weapon that they believed would revolutionize the art of warfare. Rolled into position was a newly forged cannon, ready for test firing, one that everyone present could clearly see was no ordinary cannon. Forged at the local Athens Steam Company and mounted on a regular cannon carriage, the new gun was 4 feet 8.5 inches long and nearly 13 inches wide. Although a trained eye might have noticed that the cannon was slightly wider than a normal cannon of the same size, it did not look at the abnormal until one examined the muzzle. There, 2 side-by-side 3-inch diameter bores stared back at the observer, rather like a giant double-barreled shotgun. The breech end was also abnormal. It had 3 touch holes, 2 permitting each barrel to be fired independently, and 1 in the center allowing both barrels to be fired at once. Its inventor, 53-year-old John Geeland, an Athens carpenter and cabinet maker before the war, and now a private in the Mitchell Thunderbolts, a home guard unit composed of men too old for active service. He prepared the gun for firing. Several of the spectators milling around the gun had contributed to its financing. 36 men, many of whom belonged to the Thunderbolts, had raised a total of $350 through a subscription fund. Its casting at the foundry had been personally supervised by Thomas Bailey, a longtime Athens resident and member of the Thunderbolts. A target of several upright posts was erected a short distance away. Geeland, with the help of others, ran balls of solid shot connected to each other by a 10-foot length of chain into each barrel. An excess length of chain was allowed to drape down toward the ground between the 2 barrels. The men gathered behind the gun as Geeland approached the breech, attached a lanyard to a friction primer, and carefully inserted the primer into the center vent. Geeland had designed his new weapon to fire mainly chain shot, which is 2 cannonballs connected by heavy chain, intended to mow down large formations of enemy troops like so many acres of wheat. Geeland's concept was not as impractical as it might have seemed. Chain shot had been used routinely in naval warfare as back as the 1600s. It was invented by the French, who preferred to incapacitate opposing ships by knocking down and destroying their masts and rigging during pitched battles, as opposed to the British, whose preference was pounding the hulls of enemy ships with shot aimed at the waterline to stop and sink them as quick as possible. The common procedure with chain shot was to load 2 balls connected by a chain into a single cannon barrel, fire it off, and watch the twirling projectiles shred the enemy's sails, or wrap around and bring down the huge mast. Eventually, the use of chain shot became a common naval procedure, perfected by the Spanish. The outbreak of Civil War hostilities renewed efforts to find a successful method of using chain shot in field artillery. Various inventors submitted plans and prototypes to both the Union and Confederate governments, including forked cannons, but the strange-looking weapon provided. Sorry, I got tongue twisted there.
I know the feeling.
The strange-looking weapons proved impractical, or else failed miserably to produce the desired results. Geeland had read many newspaper stories and accounts of experienced troops returning to Athens after major battles. He realized that although the Confederate armies were often quite effective in the field, they suffered from a lack of manpower and were easily outflanked by greater numbers of Union troops. In an effort to equalize the manpower situation, the Athens inventor set out to design a cannon that would bring down large numbers of enemy soldiers at one time. The design that Geeland settled on was a double-barreled 6-pounder, cast in one piece with a 3-degree divergence between the 2 bores that would fire the projectiles at a slight angle away from each other. Thus, the projectiles fired separately but simultaneously would pull the chain taut between them as they hurled across the battlefield, somewhere between waist and chin high, cutting down troops like a giant scythe.
Well, that's just a recipe for a very bad day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, could you actually imagine if this thing would have worked properly?
That actually would be terrifying if you think about it. You know, especially because didn't in the Civil War a lot of their battles end up in like waist high grass and stuff like that, and like
But
wheat
pretty
fields.
much. Yeah.
So essentially, all you'd see in front of you is just all the grass and shit just been mowed down in a straight line coming straight towards your chest.
Yeah.
Ah, that's terrifying.
I mean, I guess trench warfare would have got invented a lot sooner.
Yeah. I mean, it does. You don't know if you'll get onto this a bit later. Wouldn't just a normal cannon with a normal chain shot have worked
Yes and no. Like
for
I
the
said,
same thing?
like naval cannons have been using it for a long time. Like mostly the French and the Spaniard. But I mean, you have to think just how much bigger a naval cannon is, and trying to wield that artillery out on a battlefield.
Yeah, but I mean, you could sort of use that principle on a smaller cannon. I mean, yet the effect would be the same. You'd probably get a bit better because even then, like a ball and chain shot would still be what, maybe 4 feet wide.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, even that would still be more effective against line of infantry versus, say, a solid shot going through them.
Right.
I mean, even if it ends up spinning and stuff like that, you get the same effect, you know.
Oh yeah. I've never fired any of them, but I got a couple rounds of chain shot for a 12 gauge shotgun, and essentially they're two 50 caliber balls with about a 4-inch piece of chain.
Of course, that's a thing.
Well, of
That's
course.
right.
I
You're
mean,
you're in Indiana. Yep.
yes, that's for home defense, just like the founding fathers intended.
I do like how the French like to take down rigging, whereas the British try to shoot holes to sink a ship that is primarily made out of wood, which
Yes.
mainly floats.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the ballast in there, like it's still you get enough. Even with enough water in there, it won't like sink. Say like how we know a ship sinks when they're made of steel. You know, steel is heavy as hell, and it's just the ballast from the air keeping it up. Whereas as the opposite, wood floats naturally, so even with the ballast, you put enough holes in it, you'll still get that. It might sink slowly, but most of the time they kind of just floated and destroyed, until eventually enough water swells up in the wood, then it will drop down.
And more like along the lines, so it was like the French and the Spanish and Portuguese. It's like they actually wanted to try to capture the ships mostly intact, and then refit them and put them back into service.
Oh, that's the other thing. It's much easier to replace a mast than it is to actually, fill in a bunch of holes in the hull.
Yeah. The British, they didn't really care about needing any more ships. I mean, hell, the British Navy's always been pretty abundant. Or at least back in the day it used to be, so.
Yeah, back in the day. But still, yeah. Differences in warfare, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of look at this cannon. It might be one of those things where it could work if they used it in a different way, for a different purpose.
Yeah, and we'll get along to the one time it was used in battle.
Oh, I can't wait. I have a few ideas of how they could have used it in a more effective way, but I'll wait till then.
All right. At the first test firing, observers watched intently as he stepped up to the cannon and gave the lanyard a hard yank. First one barrel, then the other one thundered into action. The cannon jumped violently in recoil and spewed its connected shot erratically across the field, missing its intended target. It really doesn't say by how far.
So that means
yeah.
It
said it came out.
Yep.
Huh?
Well, within a certain parameter, they stop measuring. It's like, yeah, no, I just missed.
Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah. Don't know where it's gone, but it's somewhere. A barnyard way out in the distance suddenly collapsed for no reason.
See, one eyewitness reported it came out in a circular motion, plowed up about an acre of ground, tore up a cornfield, and mowed down saplings before the chain broke and the two balls went going in different directions not to be found.
And then you get that one farmer running out. My corn!
What the fuck?
It's a bit early for harvesting.
Undaunted, Gillen recharged the barrels and ran more connected shot into each. Again, the weapon was touched off, and again the twin bells grudgingly bellowed, blasting the chain shot across the horizon into a thicket of pine. The thicket of young pines at which it was aimed looked as if a narrow cyclone or a giant mowing machine had passed through, reported one witness. So, yeah, the second firing was a little bit more successful.
So this is the first time they've actually fired it, like test fire.
Yeah, this is the first test fires of it.
With an audience, that's brave.
Exactly.
Is this one of those, they have it, say, in theory this could work, so we're just going to go for it?
Pretty much. I mean, he got his idea from naval cannonry, so he thought, well, why can't that work on the battlefield?
And he was a big proponent of, if one is good, more must be better?
I mean, it was actually smaller because this was 2 6-pounder barrels instead of, a large naval cannon, but yeah. But
anyway.
Several more firings were made in an effort to synchronize the barrels. Primed again and loaded once more with shot, the gun again was touched off. This time the chain snapped immediately. One ball tore into a nearby cabin, knocking down its chimney. The other spun off erratically and struck a nearby cow, killing it instantly.
Oh, poor cow. Dinner at least.
Well, yeah, at least they had dinner. But I mean, what was it doing out, in the test range? Or, yeah.
That poor farmer, he's just had half his crop of corn taken out, and now one of his cows is gone, and he's just lost a chimney. I'm just imagining him just doing the whole thing of throwing his hat down and jumping on it.
Exactly.
Yosemite Sam style.
Yes.
Oh, God.
The gun had begun to demonstrate its desired effect, wanton killing and destruction. But not to the degree that the men had hoped. When both barrels did happen to explode exactly together, complained a witness years later, no chain was found strong enough to hold the balls together in flight.
Understandable.
Gillen nevertheless considered the test fire a success, because, he just dropped $350 in this, which is, during the Civil War, probably like $3,000.
Yeah. Dropped a cow and a building at the same time. At least he's demonstrating, hey, it's effective against infantry and buildings at the same time.
Exactly. Siege warfare, man.
Yeah. If we don't know where it's going to go, the enemy won't know where it's going to go.
Exactly. Some of the investors were not so sure about it. The cannon was sent to the Confederate arsenal in Augusta, Georgia for further experimentation. After lengthy testing by Colonel George W. Raines, commandant of the arsenal, the cannon was sent back to Athens. In his report to the Confederate Secretary of War, Raines judged that Gillen's new cannon was not usable since the balls created different levels of friction and the gunpowder charges burned at different rates. Gillen was incensed and fired off several angry letters to the Confederate government in Richmond. Unable to get the government to adopt the gun or to perfect its performance, Gillen contacted Georgia Governor Joseph E. Brown and tried to solicit his interests. That too failed. The gun remained in front of the Athens town hall. Do what?
I was going to say, well, I'm a wonder, knowing his cannon, his letters even made it to where they went, where they're supposed to.
Well, they didn't fire the letters off with it, apparently. Or if in that case, it wouldn't have never made it.
Yep.
The gun remained in front of the Athens town hall for use as a signal device in the event of enemy attack. In August 1864, when citizens learned that Brigadier General George Stoneman's Federal troops were approaching, they moved the cannon 3 miles out of town to the hills above Barber's Creek. There, on August 2nd, Gillen's double-barreled weapon was positioned on a ridge in the bottom tier of several cannons rolled into place by the Lumpkins Artillery Company. Both barrels were loaded with canister shot. Upon the approach of Union troops, who greatly outnumbered the Home Guard units, a 4-shell barrage was fired and the enemies quickly withdrew from the area, never to return. The cannon saw no other action after this skirmish. It was moved back to town and sat in front of the town hall for some time. After the war, the gun was sold and its whereabouts remained unknown until it was relocated in the 1890s and restored to its original condition. Today, this double barreled cannon is on display in the City Hall Plaza in downtown Athens, Georgia. While the cannon preserved at Athens is the most famous double barrel cannon, it is not the only one. Another notable example was called the Elizabeth Henry, named after Charles I's youngest children, and it was used by the Cavaliers during the English Civil War and fired 2-ounce charges. It could also fire grape shot. Multi-barreled cannons have also been built in India. The French army fielded a 3-barreled cannon during the War of Spanish Succession. And in Poland, cannons with as many as 7 barrels were in use in the 16th century. They were similar to volley guns and organ battery of the 19th century, but in a larger caliber. However, these cannons did not attempt the Athens gun idea of firing a connected round simultaneously from multiple barrels. In 2012, a slightly modernized version was built at customer request by the Gunsmoke Gun Shop on the reality television shows American Guns, which would be Season 2, Episode 8. By using a more modern ignition system than Civil War era, the Gunsmoke crew were able to achieve some success in firing barrels properly. And
It
that
took about
was
400 years.
What?
200 maybe?
2012. And what was this one? 1862 to 2012. So, yeah.
200 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, give or take.
So its only use in war was a 4-shot volley of canister shot.
Which honestly, for this kind of thing, makes more sense.
Right? I mean, be able to fire more like grape shot or canister on target in one go.
Yeah, or even stagger it at least, because to load it, you just use 2 gun crews instead of 1, so you could load it in the same amount of time as a single cannon.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 grape shots, which you can fire 1, see where it goes, and then you could adjust it for the second shot, and in case you wipe out one whole group, you go, wow, there's 3 people there, or 20 over here. Let's just move it over here.
Exactly.
I can only imagine, though, if they'd used it in its supposed original configuration with the ball and chain, you would have a Union, because this is a Confederate gun, eh?
Yeah.
You would have a Union general riding back going, the Confederates have deployed a brand new cannon against us today. Twin barrel, so we decided to march towards it. The cannon went off, and I immediately lost both my flanks. We, however, in the middle were untouched.
Which, in theory, should have worked because the whole idea was they was getting outflanked by a greater number of troops.
Yeah, but...
So fire at the middle and you take out the flanks.
Yeah.
Or you might take out your own flank, you never know.
Yeah, that as well. Confederates fired a strange cannon at us. Somehow, the town next over to our right got hit.
All my men are safe. But it's like a farmer's crop came in early.
I mean, I guess the main issue for this is trying to get both guns to fire simultaneously, especially using... Because back then, you'd still have a trail of gunpowder through a port to a primer, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was a friction primer.
Yeah.
So as soon as it was pulled out of the hole, there would probably still be some black powder poured in, I'd guess.
Yeah, so that way you're still trying to get 2 black powder trails to charge simultaneously off a spark.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to get those to fuse at the same time, at the same speed, and then hit black powder charges in the barrel at the same time. It's a bit... Yeah, there are a lot of variables here that they probably couldn't take into account or weren't thinking about, or just assumed, well, let's give it a go.
Hey, black powder is not fickle or anything like
Yeah,
smokeless
no,
powder is, right?
yeah, it totally doesn't have its own fucking characteristics between bags, or
Hmm.
like if you have one bag made from one company and another made from another company, and you got two differences in quality right there. You have all these different things. You got the chain. Is it a good chain? Is it a bad chain? There's a lot of physics going on here that was really working against them.
Yeah. Well, like they said, it's like when the Confederate arsenal was trying to. Let me get back to it. They said, for both barrels to go off at the same time, they could not find chain strong enough to hold together if both barrels were ignited at the same time.
Well, that's the other thing. Like these balls won't be traveling straight.
No, they're canted to go in different directions slightly. I think it was 3 degrees.
Yeah, so
so it's sprayed out.
Yeah, so like the amount of force that's been generated for a chain, and chains aren't as strong as you'd think they are.
Oh hell no!
They're literally a loop of fucking thick wire welded together. That's not the strongest thing in the world. I mean, the way you can mitigate that, but
it's like I always cringe anytime I see someone try to pull a tree stump out or something with a chain. It's like, oh, dude,
that's not what they're made for.
No.
And also, they also have a limit. You need to check the limits on them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is one of those guns where if they changed how they used it, it probably would have been effective.
Like, if they was able to, somehow get a big naval cannon and load it like a proper chain shot would be, then yeah, it could have done a lot of damage. But trying to maneuver them around a battlefield, if a Union scout or even if the Union was using a Confederate scout, it's like, hey, they got a huge naval gun that they've put in position here. Let's avoid that area.
Yeah.
But, let's get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like hindsight speculation, as we always.
Oh yeah.
The only thing we can do. They might have been better off loading both barrels with their own chain shot, like a chain shot in each. They still splay out, but at least they will still cover a certain area. Instead of trying to fire one each and have it all timed and all that. If they had two chain shots, they could probably have covered that same area they wanted to hit with the one chain with two.
Mm-hmm.
But again, conjecture. I still think the best thing they could have actually used this for was just loading in a whole load of basically giant shotguns and use them in close quarters and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Then you would have had 2 6-pounders going off at the same time.
Yeah. To be honest, Civil War cannons are quite interesting things, especially the sort of bulbous shape they are and stuff like that. Because were they starting to look at breech loading at that time, or was it still muzzle loading?
These are muzzle loaded, but I really don't know much about the old artillery like that.
Yeah. Because
we should do an episode on it one day.
Yeah, I need to do some research because that whole the time from switching from muzzle load to breech loading is very weird. It's very it's one of the few areas I don't know that much about. But then again, cannons and artillery are sort of lacking on my sort of sphere, so I need to do a bit more research into them and stuff like that. But I mean, at the very least, the cannon does look really cool. I'll give it.
Oh yeah. It's I remember the first time I heard about this years ago, and always thought it was pretty funny. And need to get ask Jack to see if he's ever been there. Because he lives in Georgia.
Yeah, he's Georgian as well. Actually, I've got a friend who lives in Georgia as well. Need to see if she's seen it there. Well, I don't know where she is.
Yeah,
I don't know. The States is too big for me. I'm a little old New Zealand,
True.
Can't comprehend those sort of distances,
But as soon as you was talking about this whole idea of Does a War, it's like this is the first thing that popped in my mind. It's like I got to do an episode on this.
Oh yeah. I mean, the amount of searching I've gone through looking for different subjects and stuff like that, and there's some of them that are just. I am so glad they were invented because they're so dumb. And so definitely looking into more episodes. Sort of like this is the kind of thing that I thrive on. Is just like the dumbest things in the world where we can have a laugh at, because I think they're more interesting than the best of the things that worked. And these sort of things, you see what they wanted to go for, but it just didn't quite work. They couldn't figure it out properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you? Do you have plans on doing anything about the bat bombs? Because if not, I would like to tackle that one.
Oh, you are more than welcome to have bat bombs.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I got a few ideas. But like the what are they? The bulldog darts? You know those?
No, I don't think I know them.
Used in Vietnam, tungsten darts dropped flechette style on troops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I need to have a look.
I've heard about them, but yeah, I don't know. Was they not effective?
Well, yes and no. I don't think they'll use too often, but like there were darts that you could hide under a truck and they'll still go through the truck, sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
a tungsten rod dropped from whatever farther dropped them from, reaching terminal velocity. Yeah, not much is going to stop that.
No. So yeah, I've got a few ideas that I'm looking into right now, but on top of standard Micro Machines podcast stuff, I'm very busy at work. Not doing work, but I'm busy at work.
Hey,
and
at least you're doing something, right?
Yeah, it makes me look busy, and I know my manager doesn't listen to my stuff, so that's fine. I can admit that here.
Yeah, and then you go into work tomorrow and be like, "Well, what do you mean about this?"
Yeah. He'll be all good. I'm pretty sure he knows I'm like, whenever I'm like not doing anything at work, and he sees I'm actually doing something, he knows I'm not like doing work, but at least it looks like I'm doing something because especially where my desk is, a lot of clients walk past and management, other departments. So at least if it looks like I'm actually doing something on my computer instead of just staring at it, he won't get in trouble. He doesn't care if I don't have anything to do, because if there's nothing to do, he goes along the thought of, if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Whereas my old manager was, there's nothing to do. So what can you do? Like, I don't know. That's kind of your job on that one.
Hey, you're the one supposed to be telling me what to do next.
Yeah, you're the one who's getting paid vastly more than I am, so that's not my job. All right. So that was their weird Confederate Double Barreled Cannon. I'd like to thank you for listening in on this episode. We will have new episodes out soon. I'm still setting up how I'm going to run this in conjunction with our other podcast. Of course, our other podcast being the Micro Machines podcast, a visual reference for all things modeling vehicles, going through the history of them and the best kits on building them and how to modify them for certain things, and also finding out the weird things that you can build. So after you've listened to this, go and check out that. That is on YouTube and Spotify at Micro Machines Podcast. Until then, we will continue our search in finding the absolute worst of worst when it comes to the weapons of history. Thank you for listening to this episode. Do you have anything else you want to say, Clint, before we sign off?
Let's just hope that they keep creating duds so we can be doing this for a long time.
Oh, they always will do. There are a ton of things that are still in use, but they are subjectively shit. But they've got no other option. And also, there's a lot of hot takes on, like, that's the one thing about this. It can be very subjective on what some people consider bad versus what other people consider bad, or vice versa. There's a lot of like either or. So it is very subjective on how we view whether something is good or bad, and that's great, because if you want to argue with us or try and correct us or anything like that, please do it in the comments. We'd love to see it, and we also love it if you guys have any ideas on what subjects we can cover. Please let us know. We'd like to see and hear what you guys think. Until then, we will see you guys in the next episode of Duds of War. Bye for now.
See ya.